Hey guys, it's your favorite Rogue Chirpy, here again with another video. In this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know to get rank 1 parses like me in this very heavily single target focused raid. First, I'll go over consumables and itemization, then I'll get into the talent build, and finally the rotation. Let's get on to the video. To start off, just to show that I know what I'm talking about, this is my heroic page. Most of my parses are top 100, we're doing pretty good. On mythic, I have 200 parses, so this was rank 1 at one point, and people have just overtaken it since then. But this one I got early last week, and no one has beat it yet, and this is a pure single target fight. So, listen up, take notes, all that fun stuff. I'm gonna get you guys going. Alright, so the first things that you are going to need for your consumables are Phial of Tepid Versatility. This is the overall best, in my opinion, file that you could be using. It has full uptime, it just increases your verse by 745, gives you flat damage, and bonus damage reduction. So, very good overall file. Some people would say that the Phial of Corrupted Rage is also very good, but again, it depends on your raid and if you're able to maintain the buff to keep it actually worth it or not. So, again, Phial of Tepid Versatility is my go-to file. And then for your potions, you want to get of Ultimate Power, which you can get straight off the auction house right now. So these are the best ones that you can get. Give you a massive amount of primary stat. You usually want to use one of these with Lust to get the most value out of it. So if the fight's only like 7 minutes long, you can get 2 uses, then right in the beginning and then 5 minutes in. If the fight's 4 minutes long, you get the 1 usage of it. Pretty good. And then for your weapon consumables, you want to be using either buzzing runes if you have low crit chance. So this will put crit on your weapons. You can use them on both your weapons, so you get an extra 620 critical strike rating. And your other option is to go for this right here, which is the Primal Whetstones or Primal Weightstones, depending on what weapons you're using. Primal Whetstone is used on sharp weapons, Primal Weightstone is used on blunt weapons like maces. So these will increase your attack power on each of your weapons, and the only way to know which one will be better suited for you is for you to go onto Simulation Craft and sim the differences between the two. For me, buzzing runes sim higher, so I'm using buzzing runes, but I know for other people, the Weightstones or the Whetstones will sim higher, so they're using those instead. Neither of them are more correct than the other one. It's whichever is better suited towards your current gear setup and your current stat weights. So for itemization, a couple of mandatory things that you need to have if you want to parse really high on Outlaw in single target especially. A couple of important things. 1, you need this Onyx Amulet. This is achievable from the 10.0.7 extra side mission quest that you can go do. It's still available for you to go get today. It takes maybe 3 hours to farm all the way up to 424. This is our best ring through the entire season right now. So I'm going to be wearing this 424 ring all the way to the end of the season unless it gets nerfed. But for now, this ring with the Freezing Ice Stone, the Prophetic Twilight Stone, and the Desirous Bloodstone, this matters. This is important. You need to get this ring. Second, you have this Seal of Diurna's Chosen, which is a proc chance ring that you get from the first boss of last raid tier's raid. So if you're unable to get this ring at this point, don't fret. It's not the end of the world. It is a little bit of a DPS loss, but you can still get a very good crit verse ring. There's a couple of them that you can get this season. The only downside is you do lose the fire damage proc. So, just something to look out for. The next thing that we're going to look at is weapons. So, for Outlaw, you have Forge Storm and Bile-Stained Krogtusk. These are the 2 best weapons that you can get for Outlaw for single target. Forge Storm does fire damage proc, which will make our Seal of Diurna's Chosen actually worth something by making sure that you can actually proc the fire damage on it. Because you need to deal fire damage in order for this ring to proc, and Forge Storm does that for us. So like I said, if you're unable to get this ring anymore, what you should do instead is just commit to double Bile Stained Krogtusk, and that will give you just better single target damage overall. The Bile Stained Krogtusk also is just an on hit, applies nature damage, and it stacks and just does damage. You don't really have to do anything differently for it. For the other piece of jewelry, I'm using the Tuskar Bone Necklace. It has high crit, low verse, and I put verse, heavy, and low crit gems. Again, the gems will depend on your own stat weights and your own stat budget, so make sure to sim whichever gems are best for you. There are also other necks that you can use besides this one. There are other crit verse necks. There are high verse, low crit, and those are pretty good too. So again, any of these will do fine. I'm using the new 4 set, so the Season 2 4-piece, and I just have these pieces for now. Ideally, I don't want to be using legs as Outlaw. Outlaw's worst set piece is the legs, but I did get 447 legs in my vault last week, so I kind of have to use them. And then I have 441 hands here, which is my non-set piece. This drops off the last boss of the raid. And these are also BIS stats, so they're low crit, high verse. But the tier set is also crit verse on the hands, so it doesn't matter which one you really get, as long as you get one of those two options. So another very, very important piece of gear is the boots. This should be your #1 priority crafted piece. It does, just again, passive damage proc, and if you have a toxic patch on any of your other crafted pieces, it makes that proc even stronger. So I have my boots crafted and my belt crafted, and on the belt I have the toxic armor patch, which again buffs my boots. I chose the belt because it was my lowest item level option at the time, but you can put it on your wrists or on your helm or anywhere that you're not using your extra slot. For Outlaw, you'd probably end up putting it on your legs because the set piece up here, which is Haste First, is actually pretty good for Outlaw single target. So again, just first crafted piece, slimy boots, second crafted piece, your lowest item level non-tier slot if you don't have 4-piece yet, and with the toxic armor patch on it. So those are all the proc based pieces. And then for trinkets, I'm using the Dragonfire Bomb Dispenser. It's one of the best trinkets you can get this season. And I'm using either Controlled Current Technique or Manic Grief Torch, which are both raid trinkets from last season. Ideally, you want to be using the Dragonfire Bomb Dispenser and the Beacon from the last boss of this current raid. So, I don't have that yet. This is what I'm stuck using. Hopefully I get it soon. But that's that for that. Now for talents. You have 2 different talent builds that you could be using. I've seen a couple of different top level rogues use this build. I don't personally like this build, but it plays the exact same way as the build that I use pretty much. So this build, what's different about it is it goes down into Seal Fate and Thistle Tea instead of Acrobatic Strikes, Lethality, and Cold Blood. I don't personally like that. I like the extra range. It makes the class feel a little bit better. It gives you a little bit more leeway. But this build does pretty well. And then on the Outlaw side tree, we have Grapple Hook. We work our way down. We have 2 CTO, Ghostly Strike, Hidden Opportunity, Killing Spree, and Greenskin's Whiskers. Greenskin's Whiskers synergizes super well with Outlaw's 4-piece because you are pretty much spamming between the eyes on cooldown anyways in order to keep up the set bonus and in order to keep on consuming your soul rips to increase your damage. The build that I like to use, though, is this one. And both of these builds will be in the description below, so check that out. In this build, we have the standard class tree here. So this is the class tree that we've been using all season last season, and then again this season for keys. It goes into Acrobatic Strikes, Lethality, Cold Blood, and you can just macro Cold Blood onto Dispatch like I have here, so it automatically uses it whenever it's up. You don't have to use any brain power for it. And if you want the macros, any of that, check out the Discord. The link is in the description. I have all my macros and everything else in the Discord server. These talent builds are also in the Discord server too, and if anything changes, the Discord will be updated because I can't really come in and retroactively update the video once it's been posted. So be sure to join the Discord and check that out for any changes. And in the class tree, we have Ghostly Strike, Hidden Opportunity, 2 CTO, Killing Spree, Greenstone Whiskers. You have an option here. You don't need ambidexterity for most of these fights because there's never anything to really cleave onto. So what you can do instead is you could take this point in ambidexterity and put it into hit and run to increase your move speed. And move speed actually can increase your DPS by being able to get from target to target or do a mechanic and get back onto the target faster. So ambidexterity, it only affects your main ghost proc chance when you have Blade Flurry running. So you can use hit and run instead, and the way you do that, it's just like that. So both of these builds work super well on a single target, but this is the build that I prefer, and I'll be demonstrating how to use this build next up. So watch for that. Hey guys, before we get into the rotation, if you could take a second and subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. It's free for you, and it goes a very, very long way. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get on to the rotation. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate the rotation here. You can watch right down here on my screen. It'll come up with a list of the abilities I'm pressing, as well as a side scroll showing all the icons. When they're stacked vertically, it means that I press them all at the same time because those buttons aren't on the global cooldown, so you're able to do that. We're always going to start off from stealth with Adrenaline Rush into Roll the Bones to make use of loaded dice, which grants us a guaranteed double buff on our next Roll the Bones cast whenever we use Adrenaline Rush. So I'll demonstrate, and then I'll play it back, and I will go over why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to play that back at half speed now and go over it with you. So I'm adrenaline rushing into Roll the Bones here to get the double buff. I ambush between the eyes, and I'm able to get a 4th global cooldown there, which is another ambush into Slice and Dice. At that point, now we're set up with between the eyes and Slice and Dice up. I can use Ghostly Strike and start cycling through ambush and pistol shot procs. Once I'm out of those procs, I vanish into more ambushes, into another dispatch, and then we're cycling procs again until we are out of procs. Now we're at the point where we're about to use Between the Eyes again, so you want to use your on-use trinket right before your next Between the Eyes, so that way that Between the Eyes consumes the soul rip that you put on it, and you get extra value damage out of your soul rip, out of your on-use trinket. And then we're just cycling through again. Once we're out of ability to cycle through, we pop Shadow Dance and we start spamming ambushes into dispatch, ambushes into dispatch, and then right out of Shadow Dance again, you want to click Between the Eyes because you're doing a lot of damage in Shadow Dance, and Between the Eyes right out of Shadow Dance will increase your soul rip damage. And then it's just about cycling through again. So as you can see, we're trying to make sure that we're maintaining uptime on Ghostly Strike. We are watching our roll the bones, making sure that we're keeping a buff up at all times. And as you're going to see here, we come to a situation where we could either vanish or pistol shot, and I'm choosing to hold my vanish at this point in time because I don't have my adrenaline rush up, I don't have other things up, so I'm just choosing to play conservatively at this point and just cycle pistol shots instead of aggressively using my vanish. And now I have adrenaline rush ready, and I know in adrenaline rush I can usually get more globals out of my subterfuge, so now it's okay for me to use my vanish. I can get an extra couple ambushes out. I re-roll the bones because I have loaded dice ready, and that's it. We're just trying to keep up Ghostly Strike, keep rotating our procs back and forth, and there's not much else to it. The thing that you haven't seen me press yet is Killing Spree, and Killing Spree is a button that you press when you absolutely have nothing else, like you're just dry. So right now you can see I'm in a little bit of a dry spell, but I'm still in adrenaline rush, so I'm not pressing Killing Spree, and I'm just Sinister Striking my way up, and I'm just waiting, pretty much. I'm getting pretty low on energy here, so it's time to pop Killing Spree. I have nothing else going. Adrenaline Rush isn't up, Vanish isn't up, and Shadow Dance isn't up. That's a Killing Spree moment right there. So you press Killing Spree, you regenerate energy while it's going. It does a little bit of damage as well, so it's pretty good. And that's all. This is the entire single target rotation, guys. It's a bit of getting used to, especially when you're juggling between the procs back and forth, but it's not too bad. I also want to point out right there, the add-on that I'm using for the rotation is said to use Shadow Dance, which is wrong, because I saw that my Vanish is coming back off cooldown within like 4 seconds. So if I would have used my Shadow Dance there, I would have lost a Vanish usage. So you want to prioritize using your Vanish over your Shadow Dance. So the proper rotation is Vanish, Shadow Dance, Vanish again. So if you use Shadow Dance first, you're only going to get 1 Vanish usage, which is less subterfuges, less ambushes, less count the odds procs. So we just use our Vanish, we have Adrenaline Rush coming back up, I pop it, and now I know that I can go into Shadow Dance because I have nothing left. I already used my Vanish, I can go into Shadow Dance here. But I'm going to roll the bones first because I have loaded dice, then Shadow Dance. You have an option to pool your energy before the dance there, but sims show that it doesn't really matter if you pool energy or not, the overall DPS stays about the same. But it does make it feel a little bit better if you pool energy before your Shadow Dance, so usually pooling to around 80-90 energy is enough for me. And that is the entire single target rotation. One last thing, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. I have the top 10 mistakes that you're making on Outlaw video that still applies today. So be sure to watch that video as well if you want to maximize your overall damage on Outlaw especially. There's a lot of things in there that I haven't said in this video, so it's very important that you watch that video as well if you want to get the most out of your Outlaw rogue. There are certain rules that I go over in that video that I don't go over in this video because I have already said them before. So be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you guys liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it helps me make more videos like this to help you guys become better and better at your class, at the game, and everything in between. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TrooperTV if you want to see me stream High Keys live or Mythic Raid. I do all that stuff on Twitch a couple times a week. Come follow the channel. I'll see you guys later.